Okay guys, in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create part number 1, the feed guide. This part is in the metric system. Click on the arrow next to ENUS and select metric. From here, click on Standard IPT. Create a sketch on the XY plane. We're going to create a rectangle, something that looks like that. We're going to connect the center point of our bottom line of the rectangle to the origin, and then we can go ahead and dimension it. The height of this rectangle is 19 and the width is 125. Go ahead and extrude this in both directions by 76. We're going to then create a new sketch, and I'm going to click right here on the plus sign next to origin and create our new sketch on the XY plane. I'm going to create another rectangle like this, go to my project geometry button, and use my coincident constraint to lock the center point of this line to the center point of our already existing rectangle. I can now go ahead and add dimensions. The width is going to be 29 and the height will be 95 from the very top to the bottom of our original rectangle. So you should have something that looks like this. We're then going to extrude it in both directions a total of 50 millimeters. I'm now going to create a new sketch on the YZ plane. On the YZ plane, all I'm going to do is create a circle that has a diameter of 82. I'm now going to click on coincident and find the center point of my circle and lock it in place with the center line or the center point of this rectangle. Once you have that, go ahead and extrude, and we're going to extrude this in both directions by 48 and say OK. Now let's go ahead and create a new sketch again on the XY plane. This is going to be a rectangle that looks like this and a circle right on top of that rectangle like so. In the dimensions, it says that the radius of this is 16. Well, we have a circle that we need to double that radius to give us our diameter. I'm now going to project my geometry of the circle that we created and then dimension from the center of this circle to the midpoint or the center point of this circle, and I want this to be 41. As you see, our rectangle and our circle are inside of this circle right here. We then need to make sure that this is exactly centered. So go to your vertical constraint, find the center line or the center point of our circle, and line it up with the center point or the origin of our drawing. Once you have that, we can go ahead and extrude in both directions 29 plus 29 plus 2. Also, make sure that you select that rectangle that we also drew along with our circle. This is the general shape of our object. We then need to add 2 cutouts on this face right here, so I can create a sketch. I'm going to go to rectangle and click on the pull down menu. From here, I'm going to go to slot center to center and create a slot like this and a slot like this. I'm then going to use my equals constraint to make sure that my slots or my arcs are equal and that the verticals of my slots are also equal. I also want to use my horizontal constraint to make sure that the center points are exactly equal as well. Now I can go ahead and dimension this. To the center of this, from the front, this should be 33. and the distance from center to center is 10. I now need to locate these horizontally, and the distance is 21 to the center and 83 center to center. The last thing I need to tell Inventor is the actual width of these slots, and this is 13. Once I do that, everything's locked into place, and I can go ahead and extrude these or cut them out and say OK. I now need to add the cutout here of the circle along with the saw right in the middle of this. So make a sketch on this face, go to Project Geometry, and let's go ahead and draw a circle. This is going to be 53.9, and then I'm going to also include a rectangle like this. This rectangle is going to be a distance of 2 or a thickness of 2, and I want to make sure that it is lined up right on that center point right there. Once you have that, go ahead and finish your sketch. We're going to extrude this, the whole rectangle, along with the circle, and we're cutting all the way through this part. We now have to add a cutout here as well as a cutout here. So let's go ahead and do that by making a sketch on this face. I'm going to project my geometry, and then I'm going to create a circle. But instead of attaching it to this geometry, I want to do it out here and create 2 circles like so. I want to dimension these circles to be 41 millimeters away from each other. This circle has a diameter of 13, and this circle has a diameter of 6. I want to make sure that these are directly in line with each other, so I'm going to use my vertical constraint, and then I'm going to use my concentric constraint to line this circle up with this circle. Once I have that, I can go ahead and finish my sketch and extrude both of the circles that I just created and cutting all the way through in both directions. The last thing we need to do is add fillets. The fillets, according to the drawing, have a general radius of 3. The only difference is this right here that has a radius of 6. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in like so. And then I'm going to click on the plus sign and change my radius to 3, and then select all of the faces or all of the corners around this object. Once you are sure that you have everything done, go ahead and say OK. And this part is complete. We now need to lay it out on a sheet. So go to New, go to ENUS, and select your title block. We are going to bring this part in, and hopefully it'll fit. Going to the Tools toolbar and selecting Document Settings. Under Annotations, change it to Default Standard ANSI MM and click Apply. Make sure that you do this before you place any dimensions. Before you start adding dimensions, please make sure to also add any center lines. This is extremely important when we are dimensioning. One last thing that you guys need to make sure that you do is change the drawing name to number 1 feed guide, as well as adding a metric note somewhere on your page. Dimensioning this is all up to you. Make sure that you have the same number of dimensions as the original drawing, and you will get a 100 on this assignment. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video.